All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to another episode of Shoot Your Shot. I'm Claire.
I'm Georgia.
Shoot your shot. Shoot your shot.
And today we have two very special guests. This is actually our first ever four-way podcast episode, so we're very excited. But today we have Kait and Martin, a beautiful married couple from Miami who are UGC pros. We're so stoked to get into a topic that we've never broached on this podcast before, but I'm so stoked you guys are here. You guys are absolute legends online. Like, the content you guys create it's just out of this world. It's so good. I became immediate fans when I found you guys, and then somehow Kait was like, hey, you look cool, let's be friends. But I'm super excited. You guys are expert digital creators who specialize in creative and relatable UGC ads, brand strategy, consulting, product photography, videography, video editing, and video creative direction, which is so sick. Like, there's so much to go on just off that. And we're just really stoked to have you guys. So thank you for being here.
We're excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We're excited to have this conversation and just, I guess, inform people a little bit more about the UGC business and how to start their business.
Yeah. There's so much to go off there.
I think UGC too, especially, it's just such a huge thing in the digital world now. I feel like it's almost like if you're online and you have any type of professional career, you have to do UGC. So exactly, just to reiterate I'm so excited to touch on this.
But before we get going, we do a segment with all of our guests called Two Truths and a Lie. And I'm so sorry that I'm putting you on the spot with this because I, again, forgot to tell you about this. But it is what it is. Two Truths and a Lie. You can use this moment to kind of flex your achievements or cool projects you've worked on or just cool life happenings and give us two truths and one lie. And we have to guess which one is a lie. This can be really anything you want. Typically, guests will go off of their career, but it could be even just life, funny events, whatever you want.
So Kait and I met on Bumble.
We packed up all of our stuff and sold it to live abroad. And we're pregnant.
Oh. Okay. Oh my God, I don't know.
I feel like because I know your story, because I've obviously seen all your stuff, I think the third one is a lie. I do not think you're pregnant. That would also be a wild way to announce it if it was that.
I know. Pregnancy announcement on Shoot Your Shot.
I was definitely going to try to use something about our business, and you were just pregnant.
My mom watching this podcast later,
Can you imagine? That's how you announce it, this random podcast through people that your family and friends don't know, and that's just that clip. Two truths and a lie.
That's so funny.
That was funny. Okay, well, since you brought up that you guys met on Bumble, I feel like that's a big part of your story online and you guys, sharing your whole lives together as a married couple who works together in the creative industry. Tell us a little bit more about how you met, because Martin, I know that you were on The Bachelorette, I believe, and it was some point where you guys had already met, but you came back to, there's a whole crazy love story. So give us a little abbreviated version of how you know each other.
I guess long story short, I was living in LA. Well, I'm from Oklahoma and I was living in LA and I had this job opportunity basically to be a live-in house mom with these 19-year-old kids who were millionaire drop shippers. They needed they saw that I was really good at coordinating, so I went to live with them. It didn't work out, and I went to go acclimate with them in Georgia, and we were all gonna move to Miami. But I didn't want to leave LA. But I was okay, I feel like this is something I need to do. So I ended up going to live with them. It didn't work out. They were young. They didn't really have a lot of emotional intelligence, and I didn't feel like it was flowing. And so I was fuck it, I don't have a lot of money right now, but I'm just gonna send it to Miami. And I slept in my car the first night I was there. And usually whenever I travel, I would use dating apps to hey, where's the best restaurant? Where's this? I'm just because you're on a dating app doesn't mean hey, it's down pat, we're obviously gonna hook up. I'm just I'm going to use this as a platform to network.
Yeah.
I agree.
I love that. I do the exact same.
Yeah, I used to do the same too.
And as far as like I go, like when it came to dating apps, like I'm not an aggressive like person trying to talk to girls in any way, shape, or form. So I thought Bumble was like the best opportunity because the girl has to speak first.
Yeah.
Right? You're giving them a chance to kind of start the conversation.
I like your thinking there.
Yeah, we're like, mm-hmm.
I get to Miami, I'm feeling a little bit better. I did a lot of like personal reflection. I went through some journeys and I was like, okay, like time to maybe make some friends. And I get on Bumble, swipe on Martin. Obviously, he's cute as fuck. And I reached out to him because he had like a bunch of like workout pictures. And obviously, he's like 6-pack, looks great. And I'm like, okay, like looks like you know where to work out in Miami. And he's like, I can show you much more than that.
That's
Oh
for
my
somebody for
God.
not being aggressive.
So that's the thing. You have to understand that when Kate tells this story, it goes the complete opposite way. Because in my mind, I'm not just, what I look like. I have a lot more that I can offer. And that's literally what I was saying. I was like, I can offer you a lot more than tips on working out. And she was like, ooh, she thought I was flirting with her.
Right. Because
And
that's most men. And so I was just
So
like,
she said something inappropriate.
I said something inappropriate. I was like, let me test this man. I was like, okay, like you have so much more to give me. Like, are you talking about like inches or like good conversation?
Oh my gosh. I was gonna
love
say that's a
this.
pretty like no offense, douchey thing to reply
Yeah, I
to
was
a girl.
gonna
Like,
say,
let me
Martin, that wasn't
I'll
the
show you
best
so much more than the
response.
gyms I go to.
That's not the way
That's
that
the
I
thing.
meant it.
And,
Right.
and like if we're already looking at it through the perspective that most men are coming to us head ass, like of course it's easy to receive that when it's like might be like pure genuine intentions, but if you're not used to men being
Right.
like that, then you're just like,
You don't even
which is
recognize
why
it.
I tested him.
Yeah.
And he was like, I can show you so much more than that,
No,
like
and
good conversation.
I said the latter, and then we didn't speak for like 2 months. Like we had that initial like conversation back
We
and forth.
exchanged numbers.
We exchanged numbers, and then we didn't speak for 2 months.
He was like, hit me up. And then I like disappeared for 2 months. And then during those 2 months, he signed the contract to go on the show. So the first night that we met to hang out, because we were just like, hey, like I finally have free time. Like, sorry that I didn't hit you up for 2 months. Like, would you want to like got food or hang out? And he just like came over and we hung out on like my apartment rooftop.
Like in the pool.
Yeah, like the pool area. And I just
And-
like wanted to like have a conversation and talk.
Yeah,
and
and
shoot
during
the
that-
shit, you know?
Yeah, and during that time we were just like super honest. She told me like all the stuff that she went through back at home, how she got to Miami. I told her the stuff that I was going through. I was like, I have, all these commitment issues or whatever, this and that, and we just stayed friends. And the next day she taught me how to backflip. We worked out together, and then we just became really good
But
friends.
he had told me that he was going on the show. And my best friend had gone on like, well, not my best friend, but like one of my really good friends from Oklahoma had gone on the season before him. And so like I kind of knew like how the show was and like what they were going to be doing and like the reality of it all. And so I was just like, oh, like go have fun. Like that's amazing. Like you're going to have a great time. So we didn't really like get too like deep into like the, I guess like emotional part of things, but I was just like supportive.
Yeah, but then obviously we hung out a lot, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going on this dating show. I'm not gonna let go of this opportunity. We could talk about that show. That could be another whole conversation and how crazy that show is. And how
to.
it's like very manipulative and it's very produced. Obviously, like nobody's telling you what to say at all times, but they are. They're like, hey, you should say this, and if you don't do this, we're gonna make you look like this. And there's just a lot of manipulation. They do like a whole psych test that goes on for like 3 hours, so they learn everything about you, what triggers you, what doesn't, etc.
And then they play you in the game.
Crazy.
Yeah,
It's a whole
it's
game.
insane.
I was a production assistant on that show for a season. Well, it was right before COVID, and I was just shocked in like the 1 month that I was there because I used to love that show. And then when I was a production assistant, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, this is horrible. I never watched it after that.
Yeah, my contract
I
is
bet.
over, so I can definitely tell you guys.
A tell all.
I wonder if we know some of the same people because I have a bunch of friends that have been on The Bachelor. One of them was The Bachelor. One was the girl who got engaged to another bachelor, and some of the stuff they've told me is wild. So yeah, I'm sure like I always hear it's just one of those shows where like it's so fake, like the stuff behind the scenes is borderline like like mental manipulation and like just abuse
It's
in a lot of
insane.
ways. But yeah,
Yeah.
anyways, that's a whole tangent.
That's a whole other like tell all episode we could do.
If you watch his season, they did exactly that to him since he didn't want to help out. So like he got back home and he's like, I had the best time, and we start like watching it together.
And I was like, oh.
And like he's watching himself like become a bad guy on TV, which is like not what happened in real life. And he's like, what am I watching?
It was tough watching it.
Watching with her, I would assume, right? Because you're like, wait, this isn't this isn't me.
Especially since you guys don't know each other that well yet.
Yeah, so we hung out a lot. We became really good friends, and I trusted her so much that right before I went on the show, I was like, "Here's my car keys. Here's my apartment keys. Like,
Take care of the place.
take care of the place, you know, because
Wow.
she was living with a roommate. So I was like, here, have the place, so you can just have your own place because it's gonna be empty for a month. I don't have access to my phone, so I'm like,
Wow, that's really that's a lot of trust.
That's real. That's true love.
That is.
and then when I was on the show and I'm going through all this crazy stuff, like towards the end, I was like, wow, I actually like miss this girl. And then when we came back, everything was just like very super organic and yeah.
Kate, were you like sad? Were you missing him? Like where was your head at when he was
I think it was honestly like not that it like had to happen or whatever, but I'm so like in alignment with like divine timing. That like I guess in past like relationships I had like trouble wanting like control. And so this to me was like the
True
ultimate
test.
test of like surrender and like okay, I'm not going to be like you can't do this, you can't do that. Like I have no say here and we're not even like at that point, but it's something obviously I wanted to explore, but I was just like okay, I'm not going to like I'm just going to be supportive. And like it worked out for the best. Like if it's for you, it's for you, and that shit was for me.
And I think that's one of the things that really like drew me towards her, which was that I think a lot of people when they get in a relationship, the first thing they want to do is start to control the other person. They're like, well, you're mine now, so you can't do this and you can't do that and you can't say this like that, or you can't go on the show. And it's like, here's somebody that we just met, we're getting along, and she's just like, absolutely go. This is your life. This is something that you're pursuing. This is something that can help you out in the future. It did not go the way that we wanted it to, but anyway, so I started to see like I guess how mature she was in that sense, and I guess that's what made me realize all those things when I was away. Because again, I had no access to a phone. It was just like me sitting in my thoughts for like an entire month. So yeah.
But
wow.
I feel like it opened up like an opportunity for him to like show up, as opposed to like asking for it.
Yeah.
And like he did, he showed up.
Wow. And now here you are. You just got married 2 months ago? A month ago?
11/11.
So
Okay.
we got
Yeah.
married. We got married last year on 11/11, so 2022.
We
Like
signed
a month
papers.
before, we were just like having a wedding in Miami. It's like gonna be over $200,000. Let's just use the money that we would use for that to just adventure, travel the world. So we got married. We signed the papers. Like her family came to Miami. We did like a beach thing with both of our families, very private. And then over the course of the year, we were just like talking to different friends that got married in Colombia, and they were telling us that they paid 10% of what they would pay here for a wedding.
Wow.
And we're like, okay, we get to have a destination wedding. We get to live abroad for a little bit. And so we did like our actual wedding, which was kind of like our anniversary.
Right.
Oh, I know, that's beautiful.
And now you guys have a full, pretty much like kind of an agency creating UGC content together. You work together as a duo. I don't know if you guys also do like your own separate stuff, but from what I can tell online and your website and everything, like you really have created this business where you are the brand. And I'm so curious how working with your partner is, because I feel like that's
Yes.
something that a lot of people don't do because it's so scary and it's hard to involve relationship with business. Like even just starting a business with a friend is so scary because you're like, oh, what if something really negative comes? Like what if different communication styles? Like what if different goals and vision for the business? So I'm so curious, like how have you guys been able to successfully make a business together work? Like what are like give us like 3 tangible things that have just really helped you guys.
3 tangible
Well, I'm
things.
gonna let her answer this, but communication is just like the biggest thing that we
Yeah.
pride ourselves in our relationship. So you can take it home from there.
Yeah, that communication is huge. It's like the only way that it works because it does get frustrating. And a lot of times like I have to like I feel like I have more issues, I guess, like balancing it than he does. Like he's like perfectly fine, but like when I'm in work mode, like I'm in my masculine energy, which he's already in his masculine energy. So then you have like 2 masculine energies, because like I feel like when it comes to like a vision, if I have an idea, I'm like, I want to do this idea. And he's like, okay, but what about this? And I'm like, but what about what I said? Like, and that's just like that's been like a big area that I've been able to grow in is just like because it's so hard has to be like no, like my idea is the only good idea. No, like the reason we work is because we play off of each other. So it's like whenever we're doing like scripting or creative direction, we'll sit down and I'll be like, okay, how about this? And he's like, okay, but what if we did that there? And I was like, ooh, and then we can do this. And we just like build. And I think that's like how it's able to come out as good as it does.
Yeah, like the projects that have come out the best for us have been the ones in which we both just like completely give our input and we're willing to like sit down and listen to each other's ideas and write them down and just kind of start developing from that. So I think that is just like the main thing. It's just communicating and also us just being okay with the way things are supposed to be, right? Because a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, I'm not gonna work with my partner or whatever because it could end badly." And it's like we take everything day by day and we're so open with the communication that if something's bothering us, like in that specific moment, like it's like, okay, what's bothering you? How can I change? And it's just like dropping our ego. And again, there's those little moments of just like, me giving an input when she had an idea and her just like coming at me for it. And then just like, I also am able to balance my masculine with my feminine side and just like take a step back because at the end of the day, I know that her ideas are really good. And if she does have an idea and we go through with it, I know that it's going to come out good. And she's learned over time, which was a little bit harder, to realize that when I have ideas and I put them forward, the projects also come out really good. So that's something that we've gotten better at over time.
But I think something that's notable about like how us like working together is like we weren't like, okay, like should we work together? Like what do you think? Like
There
it
was
wasn't
no
like
question.
a decision that we like made. Like as soon as he was off the show, like he was working on this fitness app. And like while he went on the show, like I was behind the scenes. I was like, I want to help. Like I had like this uh like social media management job. It wasn't like taking up a lot of my time. And I was like, I love like projects. I love working on stuff. So while he was gone, I built out like basically like an entire system of like how to put the information in and how to do like the videos and like I created like an organization system. And then I started doing like a bunch of stuff on Canva with like images and just organizing a ton of stuff. And like it was so natural for me to just like want to help him. And then he was like, okay, well, like we started getting together, started doing serious. We did all of our workout stuff together. And then we started doing like YouTube because I loved like editing videos. So I was like, let's just make like full on YouTube videos. So we were posting like once a week, and that's super hard to be consistent in because long form content, like if it's an 8-minute video, that shit'll take like 8 hours. Like however many minutes, that's how many hours it takes at it.
Yeah. Right.
And
Yeah, no, and in that moment when we started doing all this stuff together, because I was coming out with a fitness app that I thought was gonna be huge. You have all these like ideas and expectations when you go on a reality TV show. I never imagined that I was gonna be a villain. But anyway, we started working together, and I was like, why don't we come out with a fitness app together? Like you love fitness, I love fitness. We like helping people. So we did. We came out with a fitness app together, and I got reached out to by a marketing agency.
Okay.
And the marketing agency was like, "We love you guys. We love like the relationship that you guys have, and we see that you guys are big in fitness. We work with a guy named Greg O'Gallagher, who's like huge in the fitness industry. His marketing is elite. And I've always followed him since I was like 18, 19. I've always wanted to build like an online fitness business. And so they were like, we work with him. This is our proposal. And we are just like, cool, let's give it a try. In the process, they were supposed to do our scripting for our ads, our editing, they were supposed to run our ads. They were supposed to do like a full scope
everything.
marketing agency, right?
Okay.
So they started sending us scripts, they started editing our videos, they started doing all this stuff, and we were just like, wow, you guys are not good at what you do.
But yeah, it's because they were mostly into like e-commerce like back in like 2015 when you'd run Facebook ads and that shit would like pop off and they were making like thousands of dollars overnight. This is like a personal brand. And so they were like, okay, like we know that for fitness, they tried like basically like the early 2000s way of marketing is like, do you want to lose weight and get skinny?
Yeah, just like
And
fat
then like
shaming
that's
and-
not how we like that's not our brand. Like we're not like you like we're gonna make you get skinny and we want you to lose weight. We're like we want you to feel good and we want you to feel strong, but not even just in your body, like mentally strong as well. And so like you would go to our website and it'd be like holistic health, and then the ads that they were running for us were like
lose 20 pounds
Yeah.
in 6 weeks. So it didn't align and whatever. So basically, everything that they were giving us wasn't necessarily good. So we were just like, okay, let's create our own ads. Let's run them on her TikTok because
TikTok.
she had a really big following at the moment. She still does. So we started running the ads and they started doing really, really well.
Because in order for them to run an ad off my creator profile, I would have to post an ad and give them a code. But they were wanting to like kick these ads off, and I didn't want every single piece of content on my page to be an ad. And so we were like, okay, like we'll post the ad and then I'll post
let's
like
create content.
4 organic pieces of content, just like I don't know, like TikTok, like Instagram's more curated. TikTok you can kind of like shit post, but it's like funny and it's like little trends and they're like really fast. So I was able to pump out like 5 videos a day. I did that for like 2 weeks. And like these videos started popping off and like all of our ads were like hundreds of thousands of views and we're like, okay, this is amazing. And we kept checking the analytics and there was like barely any sales and we're like not sure what's going on. And the deal with them was like they promised to basically like we gave them a hefty investment and if they didn't make us a certain amount of money within like 45 days that they would give us our investment back. And they obviously did not even get close to what they promised. And at the end we like go to like onto the website and we're very, very hands-on. Like we're like we want to be involved, like show us the website. We're constantly tweaking, constantly working, like we're building out everything as a team. Good, though. Yeah. And basically we got to the website after we've told them to fix so many times, so many things, and like you'd go to like check out and it would bring you like to the top of the page. Like it wasn't optimized. Like it didn't let you check out. And like someone online, like purchasing power, like you have one go at it. Yeah. And people change their mind so fast. And so like it just wasn't optimized. But because of that, like I guess all that fell through and we were like, okay, wait, like we kind of put all our eggs in one basket there. We thought that was gonna work out. That didn't work out. We're not working with them anymore. Like what do we do? And I was like, you know what? Like we're really good at creating ads. And I figured that out through this process. And so I put up like a little gig on Fiverr. I saw somebody on TikTok talk about UGC. And I was like, okay, like we're good at editing, we're good at content. Like let's just put up like a little UGC ad and like see where it goes.
So before this, sorry, I have to bring this up. We made a little video on like me trying, oh no, you, right?
I don't know what you're talking
about. It was like you trying to stop me from eating like a whole jar of peanut butter. And we used a specific brand. So we kind of did an ad for a brand without them paying us. We just wanted to create a little video. Yeah. And that's the video that we used on Fiverr as like an example. And we started getting a crazy amount of hits.
But it's funny because like I had no idea what to charge for like UGC. People were saying that like they were charging like maybe $200. I'm like, well, we don't have any like experience in like that. So I guess like let's just charge like $115 for a 10 to 15 second video, then we'll charge $130 for 30 to 45 seconds, and then $150 for like a minute video.
Yeah. And we also understood based off like the information that we were looking at on different people's like accounts that we needed to have a contract and do all these things, but we were like, we don't want to miss out on these sales because we're just starting out.
And also it was on Fiverr, and usually you create a contract to like make sure you're getting paid and like outline like the stipulations. But like Fiverr, it's like they order the gig, they pay you, like it's automatically going down. So
I'm curious, what kind of so you were posting on Fiverr saying like we're available to create UGC content, which just for anyone who's listening who doesn't know what UGC means, UGC is user generated content. So it's basically like iPhone filmed advertisements that are very like something you would post on an Instagram story for your friends. It's very user friendly. It's just very simple. And so you were basically getting gigs from Fiverr. What kind of gigs were you getting? Like were these companies, small businesses, people like
very, very small, like what we've done, so like literally any niche you can think of, we've created now.
Oh, I know. I went through your website and I was just scrolling and I was like, they have literally done everything. It's very impressive.
We've done over 100 projects like in the last year. So at the beginning, it was like smaller companies. Like we even did an ad for, it was like it was a business for veterans that are getting out of the army and they're having trouble transitioning into jobs. So this was kind of like an IT business that was helping these veterans get jobs. Yeah. And it was interesting because we're charging like $125, $130 for an ad, and they're asking for a $25, $30 discount. Right?
Interesting. Did you give it to them?
We did. Because we were starting out, we were just like, we're good. We want to show that we're good. And on Fiverr, in order to keep growing, you need reviews. You need to show that you've worked with people. So we were kind of just like, okay, let's just get our experience out there. And after we do 20 jobs, we'll bring up the prices. After 20 jobs, we'll bring up the prices. So that's what we kind of started doing. But this company, or this one guy that hired us, ended up changing something in our video because we never signed a contract as far as like usage rights or the fact that we needed to have the final say in anything that they run as an ad. And it was a funny video, but they bleeped out a part of the video that made it seem like I was saying something really raunchy.
Yeah.
And that video reached a lot of people in the army, and actually some of her friends from the army back at home reached out to her and were like, "Hey, we've been seeing your ad everywhere." And then we saw the ad and we saw that he did that, and we reached out to him and we were like, "Hey, listen, like you don't have the right to change." And he was like, "Well, there's no contract in place. There's nothing that says that I can't do this." And he was right. So basically, that's like one of the biggest recommendations that we would give to people starting out is like be careful with your intellectual property, with the information that you're putting out, and always have a contract in place because it's your likeness, it's your
Yeah.
brand that you're putting out there, and that's what's helping them generate money.
That's a great tip. I mean, that's kind of what's happening in the industry in LA, why there was all of that BS with Netflix and other similar streaming platforms not wanting to pay AI representation of actors and stuff. So it's so true. And it's such a good tip to always have everything in a contract, because once your video is out there, like it can really be put anywhere if you're not careful. And like that can actually have really difficult repercussions years later down the road that you have no control over. So it's just better to look out for yourself immediately if you can.
Okay, so I have a question to go into the content that you were making for these brands or yourselves, like whatever content that you were making and still are. Do you go into it with like how can I make this viral mentality, or do you go into it with like the content first? Because I know a lot of people potentially struggle with that. They get in that whole loophole of like, well, do I just do this trend because I know it'll go viral, or do I like stay authentic to myself? I guess that could be your guys' personal brand question, and also what you might do for other clients off of your personal brand.
Well, I think it differs, right? When we were doing UGC and we're doing personal stuff, but I don't know if you want to answer it.
So I think in both instances, like I'm never like, oh, I want thousands of people to see this. Like when I create content, like I'm a creative director. Like this is fun for me. Like I want to put my idea out there. And so a lot of times the things that'll get you views is like trends, but I'm like, I think original content is so much more fun. And also it's like it might not like pop off immediately, but like a trend that we've been seeing in our personal accounts is like we'll post a video and like it won't like pop off or anything. And like 2 to 3 to 4 weeks later, it'll all of a sudden just like take off. And it's been the case like the last like 3 months.
Yeah, so when it's not like something that's super trendy, like people might not pick it up right away, but eventually it starts to get shared and then it starts to like pick up steam. But like there's definitely an aspect to when we are creating content where we understand how people like to consume content, right? So it's not like we're just creating a 10-minute piece of content and throwing it on Instagram, right? We're still understanding that there has to be like these fast cuts, it has to be interesting in a certain way. So we do keep that in mind when we're creating content. But when it comes to the UGC for brands, we're definitely doing our best to create content that we know people are going to resonate with. So we do like part of our job is to understand what the business is obviously trying to sell, who their target demographic is, and how they usually sell, and how companies that sell the same product, service, or experience create content so that we can kind of get their clientele as well.
So yeah, I feel like we go into it like more heavily with UGC at least, focusing on like what the company's trying to achieve as opposed to making it viral, because like making it viral for me like doesn't, I guess like you said, like doesn't feel like authentic. It feels like you're trying to like fit a mold, and I'm just like I want to create a piece of content, and like the UGC for me is very like not like infomercial, but it's like it's more kind of like a commercial. So it's not like your regular content. Like
Yeah.
you're like obviously trying to sell something, but we do it in like skits or like funny ways to where it's like maybe it's not viral, but the people watching it, it looks like regular content. So like they want to stay and watch it, and
Yeah.
then they figure it out that it's an ad.
Yeah, and the truth is, at the end of the day, these companies are putting ad spend behind it. So that in itself allows it to grow organically, not organically, but it allows it to grow not just because it's a trend, but also because there's that ad spend behind it. But then if it's interesting, it allows them to generate revenue.
So I was just gonna say, I'm curious because I have a lot of friends that always ask me this. Now, if you have a regular like TikTok account, let's just say I'm on my TikTok and I put money behind some of my TikToks that I want to go viral or something, right? Does that affect the algorithm in any way for your own TikTok?
We understand, and that's just definitely something
It's a
we
good
thought
question.
about. And like people will be like, "Oh, like boost your Instagram post." I'm like, "But if Instagram knows that you're willing to pay to get views, why would they push your other stuff organically?" Like it's a conundrum, but it's like
We don't know.
We don't know. We literally don't know. I personally never put money behind on my personal accounts, but if we're doing like an ad or something and we have to post it, like I don't mind there because it's like I feel like I don't know how the algorithm works. No one knows how it works, but it's like I feel like they understand that it's like this is an ad and my other content is not.
But yeah, that is one of the things that we've talked about a lot, where now we're starting to work with like management and starting to like kind of do like bigger projects and bigger production. And he was like, oh, well, why don't you guys run an ad on? Because we made a video for Fiverr about how we work. And we also posted it on our personal social media because it's interesting and it shows people.
I think I watched that one. You guys wrote on the notebook, right? And like had step by step. Yeah, that was really good. You guys should make more stuff like that because it's super informative.
Thank you. And so he was like, why don't you put some ad spend behind it? And that's kind of like the conversation that we had maybe like a week ago. We're like, we're not sure if that's going to affect our other
Everything
content
else.
because we're like, if you find out, please let us know.
I know. It's like this big what if. Because I always wonder, like, I have clients come to me and ask me that. And then I also think for a second for myself, I'm like, I think this video is kind of funny. Maybe I should put $20 into it. But then I'm like, but what if I never get followers again and I get 0 views? It's like this constant battle.
Yeah,
There's like I don't know about like putting money behind that, but I do notice that like anytime that I've joined like a TikTok like creator fund, not Instagram because Instagram is like you're just a part of it or you're not. But like TikTok you have to like sign up and like go to the creator fund and like actually like check boxes. And I think from there I started to see like a lot of my engagement dip because it's like why would they push your content out if they have to pay you for it?
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Oh, that's so interesting, but that's so tricky because it's like, then why do you even offer that?
Yeah.
So we ran into that problem a bunch of times on Instagram where we were getting the bonuses that they took out for a while.
Oh yeah, I used to get those, and then they stopped, and I was
And then
really
they
sad.
stopped, but every time that our videos did like 1 million or 2 million at the moment, because at the moment we weren't like getting that many views, we wouldn't get the bonus. And it was like insurance, right? Like insurance, and for whatever reason we wouldn't get paid. And then
be like, this specific sound or you held your hand up on the left side and that was wrong, so now you don't apply to like it just never worked out. And we were like,
hang on, I'm so happy you guys just said that. I cannot tell you. So I used to be in that like creator reel fund too, and like all my like I don't even know like 5 10K views whatever would count towards it. And I posted this one, it got like 23 million views, and I was like, oh, let's go, Georgia, I'm gonna sell out on this reel fund, I'm gonna get paid. And they were like, oh, sorry, because this sound doesn't work in this country, doesn't count towards this, but all the other ones do. And I was so upset, but nobody like really knew how it worked. I just kind of had to let it go. So I'm just really happy that you said that because I just thought that was so BS. And
no, it is.
And there's no one to talk to about this. There's no one on Instagram.
No help.
This is a real strategy that they're using. Like it's so obvious then that they're targeting smaller reaches because they don't have to pay out for that. And like is there not a contract somewhere when you like, you know what I mean? Like how is this legal? I mean, it's their app, so anything they want to do, they can do. But like, how is that legal?
Like when you think about it, you said you got like 23 million views. Like how much? That's thousands and thousands of dollars that they would have had to pay.
I was like, I'm going to take my mom to Florida. Let's go.
Yeah. We had a video do like 90 million and we're like, oh, this could make us like what, $15,000-$20,000? And like, no. So
they found something to be like, sorry, it doesn't count.
It's like insurance. Insurance always finds a way not to pay you out or not to take, like, it's just insane. So, but go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, they want small creators to be more encouraged to use the platform. And then when they start using the platform, naturally they start getting more views. And then when they start getting more views, Instagram's like, okay, that's enough. You had you dipped your feet. So now we're out. You're using our app. You're addicted. Bye. It's like just messed up.
I actually saw somebody put something up yesterday and they were talking about how it's interesting how a lot of people love like the underdog story where like people start to like blow up and have like a massive following because they did something that's like specific to their brand. But as soon as they get a big following, people want to tear them down. Yeah. They're like, oh, this isn't right. Like the content's not good or this person's stupid. And like, it's like first they want to see you grow. But once you're big, once you start getting there, they want to tear you down. So it's interesting. It's kind of like the same thing.
So frustrating. So I have a question. When you're creating this UGC content, are you almost always posting it on your own accounts, or are you ever creating like simply to just hand them off a video and then like they're posting it on their accounts? Like, what's the ratio, and do you have one that you prefer doing?
So I don't think that we posted literally a single collaboration till like halfway through our journey, because UGC is like, it's specifically for advertisement, so you don't have to post it. Like, they're taking that piece of content, you're selling them a piece of content for them to go take it and put ad spend behind, and then like you have no tie to it after that, you know. I feel like so whenever we got to Colombia, which ties into how we've been like posting now more as like influencers from the UGC, like before we left for Colombia, we were like, okay, we're gonna post consistently, and we did for like a month and a half, and then like we got through the move, and that was a little bit challenging. But then once we got to Colombia, we're like, okay, we're gonna hit it hard, and we realized that a lot of people did not want to send us like our UGC, like our UGC deals were falling through because people did not want to send us their products to Colombia. Like, we had like 8 deals lined up. We were like, okay, we're here in Colombia, send it over, and people are like, ghost, like, oh, you're not in America, like, we don't want to work with you.
Which makes sense.
Like shipping costs and shipping time, like, it makes sense. So our work got cut in like down by like 50%, 75%,
like 80%.
Yeah.
That's crazy, that one small move, despite the content it probably would have looked so much better because you were in such a beautiful place. Just that one little thing of shipping content just completely changed your direction.
We were like super excited. We're like, oh, we're finally in Colombia. Like, you can send us the products to this address. And they're like, no.
No, we don't ship internationally.
Is there like some sort of middle ground where sometimes you're creating content just for the brand and they also ask you to post it? You know what I mean? Like, does it ever come together, or is it very much 2 separate forms of creating?
Yeah, finish the Colombia story, and then we'll get to that.
All that to say, basically, whenever like we didn't have time, we weren't dedicating time to like working on like work projects. We're like, okay, let's just take all this UGC knowledge and dump it into our personal content. So then we started doing very well, and we doubled our accounts in like three months, basically, from like being super consistent because we didn't have anything else to work on, basically. And through that, people started seeing that we had a following and that we were posting good content. So they're like, okay, well, now would you want to post this on your account? And it's something that we were like open to, obviously, but I think the difference between like UGC and like influencing is that like whenever we're posting it on our personal accounts, like let's say like we did a UGC project for like a company that does like gel socks, like hydrating gel socks. That's something, if they were like, hey, will you post this on your profile? I'll be like, no. Like, no. I don't, what do I care about gel socks for? Like, that doesn't resonate with me. Like, we're only posting stuff on our profiles that we would actually use, that we would actually like be a part of, you know?
But I think that the other thing that you have to take into consideration is like, when you're creating a UGC ad, whether it's a product, a service, or an experience, we have to experience that product, service, or experience, right? So at the end of the day, it's very much a review in a very creative way. So it's not like it's fake. Like, if they give us the gel socks, we try them on, we see how the product works, and then we creatively show whoever's going to be watching this video how they can use the gel socks, what the like how it can help them, or how it can, you know, soften their feet, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. But whenever we do post on our personal social media, we want it to be like a passion project, right? We want it to be something that we're very excited to show our followers, and not necessarily, you know, create something for the brand.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Like, I feel like whenever you say like influencing, it's just like you see fake. these people that go like on the Bachelor, right? And they all of a sudden have this huge following, and you go to their page and it's like their entire page is like an advertisement billboard, because like so many people are like, come do this, and they're just like, they're taking every project because they're offering them big deals. But it's like, at what point are you working with brands that you don't want to work with? It's cool if all of them are people that they'd work with, but it's like, I don't know, like I never want to, like, we always say like all the time, like, we're not like influencers. Like, I'm not trying to like sell someone something just because people are watching.
Yeah. So like if a let's say like a vodka company reached out to us and said, can you make a video? We're gonna say no, because we don't drink alcohol. So why are we gonna push that to our following?
Yeah.
But would you do it as a UGC
Well, no,
Or
I'm
maybe.
honestly, they like a beer bong, like the beer bong.
Yeah.
They've reached out to us and we said no. There's a lot of projects that we've turned down because
They
we
don't
either
resonate.
they don't
Yeah.
resonate, we don't agree
Yeah.
with them, or it doesn't resonate with our brand. So
Right.
there's a lot of projects that we've turned down. But yeah,
So you're
as
still
far as
being you're still being selective and picky, even with the UGC stuff, even though it's not stuff that you're necessarily pushing on your own accounts that maybe no one you know will ever see. It's being pushed maybe even in another country. You're still being selective because it is a representation of you and who you are.
Now, would you ever use like your friends? Like let's say going back to like the beer or the vodka thing. Like has there ever been a case where a brand came in and you were like, "Wow, this is a really good deal. Like this might not align for us, but and we don't have to post it, but we're happy to create content for them potentially using like our friends." Like has that ever come up?
Not a specific situation like that, because I feel like a lot of times like we don't even get around to like prices. It's like, would you guys do this? And we're like, okay, like we wouldn't do this. And then they're like, okay, well, never mind, buy it. But like that is a smart way to take it, so you still like get the deal.
But it's also tough because for the longest time we weren't charging like big rates. Right now we're starting to charge bigger rates, but before it was like their budget was so limited that if we have to take on the creative direction and the videography and the editing and all we're doing is bringing somebody in, then we have to pay them. Like we understand that if we're taking up somebody's time, we have to pay them. So based on everybody's budget who has come to us where we could use somebody else, we would have made like $50 and we're like that
Yeah.
it's not worth our
Yeah, it
time.
doesn't
So we
make
haven't
sense.
done that because we haven't been working as like an agency that's hiring out creators. And the dilemma that we have with that is that a lot of these agencies are hiring creators and they're paying them $100, $150 for the content. And they're like, you don't even have to edit it. Just give us the raw footage. And people that don't understand usage rights or the fact that their face, that their intellectual property, their creative direction is what's generating revenue for these companies, they're like, oh, I don't have to do anything. I just have to shoot it and send it off. And then these companies can create like 10 ads from it.
Yeah.
And now they got so much more with paying you less. And so that's kind of like the thing that we've talked about a lot, where like we want to raise awareness and try to get people to understand, because at the end of the day that hurts our business too. Or I think it hurt our business up until now because I feel like we've separated ourselves a little bit more due to the brand that we've created, which is our personal brand. But before that, we're like we're trying to like charge $600 or $700 for a project, and there's people charging $100. Like there's a company that came to us. And they told us that they were the biggest Latinx dating app in the U.S. Over 8.5 million downloads, and they're under the umbrella of Match.com.
Okay.
And they were like, "We want to work with you guys," and we said, "Great. Would you be willing to speak to our manager?" And they disappeared. And then 3 days later, we're like, "Hey, we're just following up because we see that you sent us a script and we want to talk to you guys." And they're like, "Oh no, we wanted to do something a little bit easier than that."
Just faster.
And so I spoke to a friend of mine. At the moment, we weren't working with management, but a friend of mine owns a marketing agency. He goes, "Dude, based off like all the work that you guys are doing, the reach that you guys are getting,"
Because they wanted to whitelist is something they mentioned.
they wanted to whitelist and they wanted to use our. He was like, "You can charge around like $80,000 for the year for the usage rights," and I was about to ask them for $1,000. You know what I mean? So they were just like, "Oh no, we wanted something easier," and that's when we realized these companies are getting creators to, they're paying them $150, $200, and they get what they need. So that's where we kind of take a step back and we're like, okay, let's offer the rates that we know that we deserve, and if the company doesn't want to work with us, that's okay, because there's companies that have paid us what we asked for, and they come back, and since we sign a contract with them and we talk about usage rights, they want to continue to use our content and they pay us on a monthly basis. So it's very apparent that we are generating a lot of revenue for these companies. So I think once you get to that point where you realize that, you have to just be very adamant about charging more and about your rates.
Isn't that crazy though? Like just because you threw out the like vocabulary of, oh yeah, like talk to my manager, that made you seem obviously more legit, so they got scared almost. And it's like they are trying to take advantage of creators who don't know that vocabulary, know how to speak that lingo. And if you would have said something like, oh yeah, cool, like how much, they probably would have immediately got back to you and like, oh, like 150, can you do it tomorrow? And that was that. But because you said that one word, they like fled, which is crazy because if they're the number one Latinx dating app, they should have the budget to pay their creators what they're worth.
Well, this is exactly why we want to have you guys on, because like this is the education that all creators need to have in order for the entire industry to make more money. Yeah. Because if every creator is standing up and saying, hey, sorry, this is how much you're going to have to pay me in order to use this video for a month, for 2 months, if everybody's doing that, we can uplift the entire industry and actually get paid fairly, respectfully, which is like the most decent thing you can do for a creator, is just pay them what they're worth. So yeah, this is so great.
And you know what's even crazier? Yeah, sorry, I just thought of this because I was looking on the TikTok Creator Fund, like literally the other day. I always just go and check to see like what pops up. And I don't know if it's different, obviously, for everybody, but on there, they even have like UGC opportunities, and they'll even put just like 150, 250, $80, $50, or a gifting opportunity. And it's like, even TikTok is playing that game of, oh, well, let's just take advantage of our small creators because they don't know better. They think they're in a creator fund, so they're probably buzzing about that. And they have $100 opportunity here. They'll definitely take it. And I'm looking at that kind of knowing, not obviously probably as much as you guys, but knowing that's so BS. Like, I'm not going to apply for this thing that TikTok's giving me and post a whole video like with this whole script for $100.
It's
But
insane.
but also, for example, like the girl that we kind of initially got the idea of starting UGC from, which is somebody that she was following. And I don't know if this is her personal experience, but in her videos, she's pretty much telling everybody that you can't charge as a UGC creator more than $200 per project. This is something that she's been on, I don't know, that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's how much she's ever charged. So then there's people doing that have a huge following, and they're selling their courses, and they're selling contracts, and they're selling all these like ways to like grow your business.
And they're like, look, I make $12K a month.
And they're putting a cap on it. So then there's creators that are like, wait, this girl who's...
That's so bad.
And again, I don't know if since then, I don't really follow her, but I don't know if since then she's like talked about her prices, but like I've watched that video before, and I was like, okay, well, you're putting a cap on the market, right? Because you're telling all these people that are getting started, and I don't know if that's a way of her to like kind of like leave everybody down here. Hopefully that's not what she's doing, because that would be like a horrible move as a human being. But if that is indeed the case where that's her experience, that's just her experience. But I do think at the end of the day, people have to understand that they have to charge usage rights and licensing rights and charge more because the market should demand for more. But there also has to be an aspect like everything else of experience.
But I think we had like the upper hand as far as like having that knowledge because like we've both been modeling since we were 18. So like when you're working with an agency, they're about that for the model. Like they're like, we're talking about usage rights and we're talking about buyouts and like how your likeness is being used. And so like we were already aware of that. We just didn't know how to like put that in play yet because we had to scale.
But yeah, she's had like a few experiences where like, she went to a modeling gig and she was shooting with a younger girl. She was maybe like 5 years old.
It was a 5-year-old little girl.
It was a 5-year-old
It was like
girl.
a mommy and me shoot. So like we were like wearing clothes, right? And like I had been modeling literally since I was 18. And I'm charging, and whenever I went to LA, I would like get on like Model Mayhem and Backstage and look up all these like shitty little gigs to like just like make a buck. And I'm like, I charge $100 an hour. Like $100 an hour, like people in Oklahoma are making $12 an hour for minimum wage. Like I'm getting paid good, right? And I go to this shoot with this little 5-year-old girl, this mommy and me shoot. She's like jacked up on Coca-Cola. She's like hitting the balloons.
She's
and I'm like,
running the show.
I'm running the show. I'm like, Cookie, let's sit here. Let's stay calm. We're going to smile. Look at that. We're having fun. Isn't this fun? You're doing so good. And her mom's like, yeah, Cookie's getting paid $150 an hour. And I was like, Cookie's getting paid $150 an hour?
Why is her name Cookie?
That's her name. Literally, her name's Cookie.
But I think the most infuriating part of that was that she asked for $100 and they were like, no, we only have a budget for 80.
And I think you guys just recently did a podcast on like basically like picking better clientele and working with better clientele and how like when you work with better clientele, like your prices make sense to them because they understand the value that they're getting. So there's been people that have come to us and been like, sorry, like, can you do it for less? And before, whenever I was doing all the random gigs, like it was so hard for me to even like speak about money because one, I have like a money wound, And then secondly, I'm just like, I don't want to lose that job, you know? So it felt like a lump in my throat whenever feel like I had to like advocate for myself. Like, okay, no, like give me more money. Like, you know that you're like cheating me right now.
I can relate to that.
But instead of it being like a personal thing, like you're literally just like, it's fine if you don't understand the value. I do this, 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 and this, and this. And like, if that doesn't work for you, like in my opinion, I think you're getting a great deal.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like there's times where people were like, well, could you charge us less? And it's like we could actually charge you more, but we're not. And it's like once you start to realize that like we could charge you $5,000, $10,000, but we're only charging you, let's say, $1,000, accept that, right? But then she had another incident where they called her for a commercial, and they were like, at the moment, this was like right when that thing happened with the younger girl, so it was like kind of like a fresh wound, and they were like, "What are your rates?" And I was like, "Tell them that it's 150 because you're not necessarily passionate about this project." And she was like, "Okay, so I charge 150," and they were like, "Oh, well, we only have a budget of $60 an hour right now." And she was like, "Oh man, what do I say?" And I was like, "Listen, just message them and say, no, thank you. If anything changes, you can let me know."
Oh, Martin's my manager, like, baby, we're not taking this. Like, he's
So-
over here messaging me. I'm just like, what do we tell them? He's like, we're gonna tell them this. Like,
So we messaged them and we're like, "Listen, the $60 unfortunately don't work. If anything changes, please let us know." They came back like, I don't know, 20 minutes later, and they're like, "Okay, well, we can do $100." And we're like, "Thank you very much, but unfortunately that doesn't work. If anything changes, please let us know." And then like 20 minutes later, they called back and they're like, "We can do 150. Mind you, she
Bro.
goes to the shoot, she does the shoot, she does a great
Kills it.
job, kills it. And
they were
then,
like asking me to help the other models to show them what to do. They were just like, okay, like, we need your help on set, actually. So I'm like, I'm not even that poor. You're not even paying me. Like, you're paying me? Because a lot of people, I think, they're like, well, you're only going to be here like an hour. Like, if it takes less time to get it done, why would I pay you more? I'm like, that's why you're paying me. You're paying me for my experience. It's getting done fast. You don't have to work hours on this because I'm efficient. And that's what you're paying for.
yeah. So then that commercial comes out nationwide. ESPN,
I had
like
no
Fox
idea.
News, like YouTube, like anywhere you could imagine, that ad was ran.
Like, my 75-year-old grandpa in Indiana said he saw me on the TV.
So
and
that,
I was like,
yeah, so that was a huge learning lesson for us about usage rights, because we weren't charging
didn't charge
usage
usage
rights.
rights.
We were like, we knew that we had to, but we were like, damn, we're starting out. Like, if we bring this up, we bring up a contract, they're just gonna walk away. And sure enough, she's all over the, like, nationwide. They hit her back up again, and they're like, "We want to use you again." And she was like, "Interesting. I'm gonna charge you the same, which is a 150 an hour, but you're gonna pay me usage rights." And she ended up getting paid, I want to say, like $3,000 for that whole shoot.
when the original shoot, they paid me just my hourly, and that was like $600-$700.
And everybody else got paid $60 an hour. They kept telling her like, "Hey, remember we have a contract.
they're
We
like,
have a contract.
NDA, you
don't
don't
talk
tell
about it."
anybody how much we're paying you.
So they understand how much money she's making them, but if you don't understand, they're not going to offer you that money. So people listening, they have to understand that usage rights, you can charge if you understand, but if you don't understand, they're just going to take advantage of you. So I think informing yourself on all aspects of the business is very important.
Yeah, and you have to be an advocate for yourself when you're negotiating. No one's going to do it for you. They're definitely not going to try to give you the most they can give you. I mean, occasionally you get an amazing client where you build a relationship and they have your back, and like those are the best clients you can possibly have. Obviously, those are the dream clients, but for the most part, you have to fight for yourself. But when you do get to the level where you understand the industry and you are fighting for yourself, you're an advocate, you're really giving yourself the best deal possible. They do start respecting that and then know, like, hey, I'm only reaching out to them when I have the biggest budget because they are the best in the business. And I have that respect. I put that respect on their name because they've put that respect on their name by standing up for their rates. And it is like a beautiful buildup that you can create. And like, sure, you might still get shitty opportunities or brands reach out and don't want to respect your rates. But you immediately shut them down because, you know, hey, I have another 20 clients that do respect me, who are paying my full rate. And that just kind of builds on its own. Like you said, like, you can kind of drop the smaller clients as your budgets get bigger, and somehow like they always get filled because you're opening up your budget to be bigger. It's a weird, like, there's not even a way to explain it. It just happens on its own.
Yeah.
And another thing that people can, or another avenue that people can take as far as like charging for the projects, is sometimes the company either one really doesn't have the budget because they're starting out, or two, they don't believe in you, right? So they're like, "Oh, well, the rate that you're giving me seems a little bit absurd for because maybe we don't know you or we don't actually know that you're going to generate revenue. So in that case, you can say, okay, give us 50% of what the rate that we're actually proposing to you right now, but pay us off like based off
Like performance.
of performance.
Or a percentage of ad spend.
So if you're a company that's going to put $100,000 behind this ad, then I know you have the money. You just don't want to pay me because you don't know if I'm going to generate money for you. But if we're going based off performance, or if we're going based off the amount of money that you're willing to put behind our ad, now we're talking about a little bit
more than what our regular rates are.
And so it's interesting because some people will respond like, oh, well, if it's based off performance and I give you 50%, that's a lot of money. And you're going to be like, okay, so you're expecting to make a lot of money from me. Why would you not just pay, let's say, the $1,000?
My base rate, yeah.
My base rate. So that's another way in which you can look at it. And the other day we had a situation where we created an ad for a company, and they told us how it's really hard for them to find couples that sell. I want to say that they put a couple $100,000 behind the ad. We've had anybody and everybody that knows us saw it. Like we saw it like 40 different times on our personal social media accounts. And they came back and they're like, hey, listen, we want to keep using your content. We want to pay you for the usage rights. How much would you charge for the usage rights? And we gave them a price. And they were like, well, can we give you half of that? And I was like, well, what you can do is give us a percentage of the ad spend that you're putting behind it. But I'd assume that's going to be a little bit more. And they're like, no, it's okay. We can pay you the rate that you asked for. So I think that's where like the knowledge and understanding the industry comes in. If you know, then you can kind of like combat when people are like, just charge me less. Why do you need to charge me more? And it's like, because you're making so much money from us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And just like a big PSA, brands have huge budgets. Like they have multiple people in a marketing department figuring out budget for Q1 for this specific project. When a brand tells you, I'm sorry, we don't have a budget for that, it's not true. They're just either not interested in you or your work. They don't believe in you. You don't have the work yet to show for it, or you just don't know how to charge more. But like they do have a budget. Please don't ever believe to anyone listening that they don't have a budget. It's not true.
It's because it's not true. It's not that they don't have a budget. They don't have a budget for you. So we have a little story. Like I put up a little post about it the other day, and she did too. So when we first started creating ads, we were like, oh, we're good at creating ads. And we've always dreamed of working with Nike. It was like a passion. Like we've always wanted to do it. We've been writing it on our like journals for a very long time. So we reached out to Nike and we're just like, hey, this is what we do. Here are some of our examples. We'd love to work with you. We have a lot of ideas. And they reached out and they're like, we don't have a budget at the moment. And at the moment, it's Nike, right? So we read the email. We didn't get upset. We're like, it's okay. You don't have the budget for us at the moment because you don't believe in the work that we can create or the fact that we can generate money. And that's understood. It's understandable. Like it makes sense.
That's a good way to look at it.
Right. So we kept going, we kept pushing, we kept learning, we kept, bettering our work and increasing our engagement and our reach on social media. And eventually they reached out to us and they're like, okay, we're ready to work with you guys. So it wasn't that they don't have a budget, they just didn't have a budget for us at the moment. And that's okay. And that's what I talked about before, the experience. Like when you're first starting out, sometimes you just got to keep going until you get to that point.
But I feel like the reason specifically we scored that deal is like we're very good about interpersonal relationships with our clients. So like we're constantly following up and we're constantly checking in, and like they're like, okay, we don't have this for you at the moment. And we're like, okay, well, here's now another moment. How are you doing?
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, maybe not yet. And then we just like, we get like personal relationships going because that's just like, at the end of the day, like it's who you know. And it's like, if you're a good person putting out good work, like why would you not elevate? And I think that's something that helps us like close our deals. Like on Fiverr, it's very elusive. Like there's like, you message back and forth, or even on Instagram or like through emails. You're talking through emails, but it's like, let's hop on a call. And like 10 out of 10 times, if we're hopping on a call, we're closing a deal. Because they're talking to us, they're seeing it, they've seen our work, and now they see us and they see our professionalism, and they're like, okay,
yeah, and they
like,
see our passion, and then we start bouncing ideas back and forth, and they're like, oh, these are good ideas that you're throwing my way. But when they just ask for your rates and you send them your rates and they're higher than most people, they're like, never mind, because they don't know the work that you could produce for them.
Like we were on a call with that same company that we ended up like doing a bunch of sales for. On our initial call, we told her the price for the two projects, and she was like, you know what, like that's kind of a little bit out of our budget, but I understand, like I've seen your guys' work, so I see the value, so I'm gonna talk to the manager and see what we can do. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy just how humanizing the relationship and the conversation it works so well? And that's what I always tell whenever I do a workshop. It's literally just get on a call because most people, A, don't even put in the effort to try to get on a call. They just hope it miraculously works out via email. So you're already putting yourself way ahead by suggesting to get on a call and pushing for the call. And then your personality comes out, your knowledge comes out, your experience, and it's a closed deal. And you'd be surprised at how many people don't do this small amount of work. It pushes you forward so quickly. So that's such a good tip to just get on a call, humanize it, create that relationship.
And another piece of advice is if you are looking to work with a company that you're very passionate about, offer them value. Offer them value without them even asking, because eventually, if you're doing good work, they'll notice that. And like the deal that we closed, we're gonna post it relatively soon. We're turning in the project today. But we did content very similar to the one that we closed with them in the past, and we used their clothing in the content, right? So we created content specifically for them without obviously collaborating it on social media or sending it to them, but we kept tagging them and showing them like, look, our content gets engagement, our content, like we wear your clothes, like, and then eventually they're like, okay, let's do the same thing that you did before.
So rebuttal on that. Do you feel like that it can ever kind of look like a free ad or free work for them if you're wearing it? So how do you, obviously I guess the benefits of closing the deal are higher than the benefit of just wearing the product, but what if you never were to close that deal? Like how do you balance like giving yourself a shot but also not giving these companies too much for free?
Like that's the thing though, it's like with Nike, like he said, like this has been like on our like bucket list forever. Like I remember like being little, I did a competition cheer and my family didn't have like a lot growing up, bro, and I would beg my mom to get me those Nike Pro slides. And like I've been wearing it. I'm always gonna wear it. Like whenever we reached out to her, she's like, okay, we don't have a budget for you, but like, hey, we have this event going on in Miami if you want to come to. And then we met her and she's like, and we don't mind sending you a few pieces. And so we use those pieces and then we make content of those pieces and we tag them and they're like, oh, like we see. Like I understand like the like where do you give value and where you don't, but it's like I think it's like you're believing in your own, like you're literally like laying the foundation, I guess.
And but I hear you, like, and I think that also it plays into how big is the company that you're creating an ad for, right? If it's a company that nobody knows, and then yeah, at the end of the day, you're shooting yourself in the foot because they're like, why would I pay you,
Yeah.
right? Just like the whole creator thing. Why would I pay you if you're just giving me free ads? But for a company like Nike, you know how many free ads they get? Like people are constantly tagging them and showing their stuff. So just us trusting in our own work and knowing that it would reach a lot of people and that would entice them to want to work with us.
Yeah.
That's kind of what did it. But yeah, you're right. Absolutely. You shouldn't just be creating free work for everybody.
So, very curious on this. Would you guys ever make a joint account on TikTok or Instagram? Do you prefer to keep your solo personality separated? You do so many collab posts on Instagram, so it's like you basically kind of share two accounts, but what are the benefits of like keeping it separate versus like combining?
So I'll say this. We've met up with a couple creators that like do couple content on TikTok and they have like millions of followers. And they're like, that's the one thing that we could change. If we could go back, we'd create two separate accounts. Because you can't like maybe you get more of like a niche following and you get a following faster. But if you're doing like a long play, like you're able to charge for two accounts as opposed to one. Like you're giving double the value. And then as far as like personal preferences go, like I think that it's important, at least for me, to have like my own like autonomy, like my own personality. And that's why we collab every single post because it's like we're coming together as two individuals to create one thing. And I think I don't know. I think it's just better that way.
No, I mean, we thought about it for a bit and we actually did create an account and we put up two posts and we're just like, okay, there's a lot of things that are going into play here. Number one, like the whole aspect of individuality. Like we, at the end of the day, we also want to be able to express ourselves on an individual basis and not just like our entire being and existence being just like Kate and Martin, right? Like we like our relationship is very real. The stuff that we put out is very real. We work together all day, every single day. So yeah, so then when we create together and we have like a little brainchild and we create content, yeah, we want to collaborate it because we want to like her audience and my audience to see it, even though it's probably the same thing because we share a lot of followers. Um, but there's another aspect of just like the amount of time and work that it takes to post to like three or four different accounts. Like we're already doing that on YouTube. Like on YouTube, we have a shared account.
Okay.
Then our TikToks are separate and our Instagrams are separate. And the fact that on Instagram you can just collaborate everything
Money.
is money, because like the account, like the couple that we were talking to that said we wish we would have had separate accounts, in the moment you didn't have the opportunity to collaborate.
That's so
Yeah.
interesting because I think of people like Jake and Marie Snow. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're these like travel influencers that just blew up by making a joint Instagram, or yeah, just one Instagram together. But your point makes so much sense. And also just individually to want to have your own, just even stories when you like want to post an idea and like it's just you and it's not.
And not, yeah, and not
But
have to like check in with the other
yeah,
person. Like I personally love, like one of my goals is to eventually do like a TED Talk. Like I love to speak, I love to talk about like the whole aspect of like masculinity and stuff like that. And that's not something that she's passionate about, so that's something that I kind of like do on my own. But at the same time, I think something that you have to be just like very realistic about, and like again, like we love each other, we want the best for each other, we want to be together until we are in our deathbeds, holding hands forever. But like if anything were to happen for whatever reason, like we have to continue to be our own people, you know what I mean? And you can't be, I guess, like,
I think it helps us like show up even like more creatively, because like the reason we collab every single post is because like we both have the shared mutual goal of like, okay, like we wanna blow our accounts up, only because like once we've talked to these people that are like doing really well, like they're talking to us about like closing deals with companies that are like $40,000, $50,000 deals for one post, and we're like, I want that.
we
I'm
met
like,
we met a friend who's, this girl that she was dating closed a $1.4 million social media deal. It was like a 3 month deal that she was like driving around the world in an electric car, but she closed a $1.4 million deal. So the opportunity through social media is insane. There's no ceiling on it. But also, I think the other aspect of social media that we like is just like connecting with people.
yeah,
Like we post a lot of relationship advice, and you have no idea how many people have reached out to us, explaining like like I think I've had this a little bit more, where a lot of women come to me and they're not complaining, but they're telling me about their situation with their husband or with their boyfriend. And I mean, I'm a man, right? Like I've been on the other side for a very long time, until I kind of just like became a little bit more self-aware and just understood a bunch of different things. But I will give them advice based on how I would act in the past, or just like how men think overall. And they come to me like months later and they're like, "You saved my relationship, you saved my marriage." Like, and that's huge. Like I'm not a psychologist, but at the end of the day, being able to help people's marriage is
yeah.
huge. Like I love that I could do that off like social media posts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what initially drew me to you guys because I think I saw one of your videos talking about something about treating, how to properly treat a woman. And I think that was the first video. And the way you guys were communicating in that video was so beautiful. And that's what led me to like stalking your accounts and like liking so many of your posts and then Kate reaching out. But yeah, I think that's like such a beautiful way to also end this because you do have a successful business and you are killing it there, but also you have a very successful relationship, which in today's day and age is actually like quite rare, and it is very inspiring. So thank you guys for being vulnerable and sharing not only your business but also like the side of your relationship, because I'm sure it's going to inspire so many people.
For anybody who might be listening to this episode, wherever they're at in their journey on social media, specific to UGC, what advice would you give someone who wants to start out in the UGC world, or even if they're kind of further along in their journey in the UGC world, like any advice you would give to somebody?
I think the most important thing when it comes to UGC, we see a lot of people, like we mentioned earlier, like creating courses and like just start it. It's so easy. You can get these products and make money. Like it's not like a lot of people romanticize it, I feel like. And it's like it's a whole job. Like and it takes so much consistency and so much scaling that like I feel like our biggest piece of advice is like just keep at it.
Yeah, I think consistency, patience, and believing in yourself. And then the other aspect is learn to advocate for yourself and learn all aspects of the business. Like she said, it's not, if all you're doing as a UGC creator is putting a camera in front of your face and creating the video, then you will continue to get paid $150 because they will use your raw footage and they will take advantage of you as a creator. But if you learn all the ins and outs of the business, then you can advocate for yourself, set a system in place, have the contracts, charge for usage rights, get paid accordingly, and that's how you're going to grow. Because if you're always charging $100 for a project, it's hard to like keep that long term.
But all that comes with experience. And so, yeah, like you only get it from the consistency. So get started and don't stop.
Mic drop. That's so good. This is such good timing. One of my best friends is actually wanting to get into UGC, and so I'm like, this is the episode you need to listen to. Like, this is your step-by-step like UGC for dummies. Like, you got everything you need in this. So thank you guys times a million for all this. It was such a pleasure to have you guys on. Where can everybody find you online and keep up with you?
On Instagram and TikTok, I am Kait, Kait, Gelbspan, Gelbspan.
And my Instagram and TikTok, same. It's just my last name. So Gelbspan, Gelbspan. And on YouTube, we have a shared account, which is Kait and Martin.
Thank you guys for coming in for another episode of Shoot Your Shot. You can find us on all social platforms at Shoot Your Shot Podcast _ on Instagram. Give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. Our podcast is video on YouTube, so make sure to head over there if you want to see all the crazy facial expressions that are happening. And thank you again for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys so much.
Shoot your shot. Shoot your shot.